Top 10 Destinations to Travel on a Budget. Travel Up is a travel blog that takes you around the world to explore the most beautiful destinations, unique stays, top adventures, and so much more. Follow along with us as we take you around the globe and help you plan amazing memories that will last a lifetime. Most people only have limited travel time and, for that matter, a limited budget. Before you assume that a big trip will completely blow your savings, there are plenty of spectacular destinations you can travel around on a shoestring. From Southeast Asia to South America, the Middle East to Eastern Europe, these are the places where you'll find dinner for less than $5, cheap but just as high quality accommodation, and lots of free natural wonders for you to explore. Whether you feel like heading to a unique pink beach in Indonesia, venturing into the mountains of Vietnam, or filling up on pasta in Italy, none of these destinations will break the bank. Plus, your budget will stretch so much further, allowing you to tick off bucket list experiences and bring back some souvenirs. Vietnam. Vietnam is regularly cited as one of the best budget travel destinations. Although the country welcomes millions of tourists every year, it has retained its authenticity and its great local prices. A beer costs around 50 cents, while you can get great street food or even a filling sit-down dinner for less than $5. Vietnam features some great hotels and hostels where you can find bunks for less than $20 a night or private rooms for around double that. Likewise, transport in Vietnam is very affordable. Tourists have the benefit of specific long-distance buses which have beds, Wi-Fi, and tickets between major cities range from $5 to $10 at most. If you're up for adventure, one of the best things to do in Vietnam is rent a scooter, and you'll find many places offering these for less than $10 per day, plus fuel. The country has breathtaking landscapes from jungles in the south, mountains in the north, limestone karsts in Ha Long Bay, and beautiful blue waters where you can dive. Many of these places you can simply admire for free or the cost of a bus ticket. Even if you're short on time and decide to get around some of Vietnam's major cities via plane, many domestic flights are less than $100. Vietnam is the perfect country to enjoy a bucket list trip without spending very much money. Italy can be an expensive destination if you want it to be, with lots of luxury hotels and activities. However, the country also has many free things to see and do, as well as affordable and delicious food. You may be surprised to learn that trains in Italy are very affordable, with travel between most major cities costing less than $20, which is ideal if you're not renting a car. There are also many locally run hotels that don't cost the earth, as well as a range of new hostels popping up in cities like Rome, Naples, and Florence. Food is the heart and soul of Italy, and although many cities like Milan are home to many high-end restaurants in most of Italy, you'll find cafes serving cheap pasta, hole-in-the-wall shops selling pizza by the slice, and lots of local markets selling fresh produce for pennies. Italy is a very diverse country, with mountains, lakes, and vineyards in the north, beaches and Riviera in the south, and historical cities and sites throughout. If you're looking for a European getaway that'll leave you with a full heart, stomach, and wallet, Italy is most definitely it. India. India is quite possibly where the term budget travel originated. An overwhelming hotspot of spices, temples, wildlife, mountains, and culture, it is one of the cheapest countries in the world. The amount you spend in a month at home could probably sustain you for 6 in India, with super cheap street food, accommodation, attractions, and transport. However, you will need to spend extensive time in the country since there is so much to see, from the mountains north to the bustling cities like Mumbai and the beautiful backwaters of Kerala to the beaches of Goa. Accommodations can often be found for under $10 per night, but even if you want to stay upmarket, you'll still only be shelling out less than $50 to $100 at the absolute maximum. Likewise, food is best eaten like the locals do, on the street. Street food in India can be found for just a few cents, as can cold drinks, meaning you won't be breaking the bank on any of your day-to-day spendings. Transport costs in India are equally affordable, with long-distance train tickets between cities ranging only costing a few dollars, perhaps a little more if you opt to travel first class to give you slightly more comfort. The only thing worth considering that will cost a little more here is activities. While entrance fees to most sites and attractions will be extremely low, you might decide on doing more expensive once-in-a-lifetime activities, which will cost a bit more. If you opt out to go to India on a tour or book a guide or driver when you arrive, you may be paying $30 to $40 per day for the privilege. Nevertheless, the beautiful South Asian country is an unmissable destination for any budget traveler. Colombia. Colombia may not come to mind as a budget-friendly destination. However, like much of South America, there are some great bargains to be found, and overall, it is very inexpensive. An array of great hostels have begun popping up along the country's main tourist route, including in Medellin, Bogota, and Cartagena. These aren't poor quality either, boasting private rooms, restaurants, and even swimming pools, often for less than $50 per night. Food can also be found very cheaply if you get off the beaten track. Although you'll find more touristy places in popular areas, particularly Cartagena, finding small local restaurants or trying street food is an affordable way to find your meals. However, Colombia is quickly becoming a popular hub with digital nomads and travelers in general, meaning there is a rise in slightly more expensive but also far more modern restaurants, hotels, and working spaces, which can also be great to visit if you're craving some Western food or Wi-Fi. Tours and activities are the only things that may eat into your budget, with private bus trips, attractions, and boat tours all costing a fair amount. However, going through local companies can often be much cheaper, particularly for getting between cities. Plus, many of the best things about Colombia are completely free, such as the beaches, nature, and architecture. Poland. Eastern Europe is famous for its budget-friendly prices, and Poland is no different. With its quaint colored houses, lush green hills and mountains, churches, castles, and excellent food, it is often the first choice for a cheap European destination. If you're already visiting Europe, you'll discover that flights to Poland are extremely cheap from places such as London or neighboring Germany. If you're looking for an even more budget option, you can catch an equally affordable train or bus over the border from Germany, Czechia, or Bratislava, normally for less than $30. Once you arrive, you'll probably head to the famous cities of Warsaw or Krakow. Both feature a whole host of free things to do, and one of the best ways to get acquainted is on a free walking tour. However, even entry costs to local castles, museums, or cathedrals won't be more than a couple of dollars. Accommodation in Poland is entirely up to you, as you can find everything from super cheap hostels and B&Bs to high-end modern hotels with a pool. If you want to be in the center of the action, opting for a hostel or hotel in the city is the best option, as most modern hotels can't fit in the tiny cobbled streets, so are located away from the cities. After you've exhausted yourself from exploring, trying some delicious Polish food should be the next thing on your list. You may have already heard of pierogi, which are the country's famous dumplings filled with meat or vegetables, but they also serve excellent szawałboy, breaded pork, and goulash. In local eateries, you'll find all these dishes very affordable, and many places do buffets for less than $10, which means you can fill up on all your favorite things. Czechia. Similar to Poland, Czechia is another Eastern European country that is extremely cheap to travel in. In fact, it is a popular hub for digital nomads due to the cost of living being so low. Prague is a must-see for anyone visiting the country, with its pretty cobbled streets, castles, and churches. But you'll be amazed by the river, which runs through the heart of the city and where both locals and tourists congregate. The transport network in Czechia is not only efficient if you want to get out of the capital to explore other destinations or do some day trips, but it is also very affordable, costing less than $10 for most return day trips. You won't need to worry about spending money on transport while you're in the city, as Prague is a walking destination and most major sites can be explored on foot, although trams are another main mode of transport for getting around quickly. Czech food, which costs a couple of dollars in local restaurants, is a mix of Eastern Europe and German, with lots of dumplings, sauerkraut, sausages, and schnitzel, which will keep you fueled on your adventures. Hostels and hotels, as in many cities, range from budget to ultra-luxury, but there are a lot of modern hostels in the center of town where you can get both dorms and private rooms for less than $50 per night, including breakfast, as the city has become very popular with tourists from Western Europe, especially those celebrating birthdays or Hindus. Outside of the capital, Czechia is surprisingly green, with rolling hills and lots of history. It makes a great choice if you're hunting for a cheap getaway or planning to hop around a few different places in Europe. Mexico. Mexico can sometimes get a bad reputation for being an expensive destination, and this is because many tourists from the US and Canada opt to stay in all-inclusive resorts and book through expensive tour operators. However, if you go independent, Mexico, like its Central and South American counterparts, can be a very budget-friendly destination. Mexico was recently voted as having one of the best hostels in the world, the Nomads Hostel in Cancun, which has its own rooftop pool and costs $20 for a dorm and $80 for a private room. Although getting between cities can be expensive if you rely on tourist transportation, you can also catch local buses relatively cheap. Once you arrive in the country's major cities, many sites are either free or inexpensive to enter, such as Chichen Itza and Palenque. A lot of tourists are attracted to the beautiful beaches of Mexico, which have some of the best diving and snorkeling in the world. You will have to factor this into your budget, but often tours are much cheaper being booked in Mexico once you arrive, rather than through a large company online. Mexico is a large country, so although it is affordable, it can eat into your money quickly with so much to see. However, you could easily spend a few weeks or even months here without breaking the bank if you plan carefully. Indonesia. After India, Indonesia is the original backpacker's paradise due to its affordability. However, now it is not just a hippie trail destination, but an accessible and affordable country for anyone looking for ancient temples, incredible landscapes, and some of the world's best beaches. Bali is where most people head, but Java, Flores, and Komodo Islands are all worth making time for, as well as the picturesque Gili Islands. Boat trips can be expensive, given that Indonesia is made up of many different islands. However, you will otherwise find super cheap accommodation, food, and activities. As with Vietnam, scooters are a big part of life here, especially on islands like Bali, and can be rented for less than $20 per day, meaning you can visit all sites easily. Food is on a huge spectrum due to the rise of Bali as a luxury destination, so you'll find everything from local street food to mid-range cafes and expensive sit-down restaurants serving haute cuisine. Indonesia is not just famous for its historical temples, which themselves are very cheap to enter, if not free, but its main attraction is an outdoor destination. The lush green mountains, volcanoes, jungles, rice paddies, and islands are a paradise for visitors to walk, bike, or hike in, and this is completely free. Whether you want to watch a sunrise over Mount Batur or see the pink and blank sand beaches of Komodo, getting there will be your only expense. This makes Indonesia and its islands one of the world's top destinations for budget travel. Uzbekistan. Uzbekistan, despite its recent rise in popularity, still remains the under-the-radar tourist destination. Many people are unsure what to expect from the country, especially considering its turbulent neighbors. However, if you visit, you will find the best of Central Asia. Uzbekistan is home to stunning mosques and religious buildings, ancient forts and castles, bustling souks, and excellent food. It is an extremely affordable destination, as although it receives tourists, it is still relatively untouched. You can easily spend a few days exploring the bustling capital of Tashkent, where you can find cheap cuisine which usually includes rice, meat, and spices. Uzbekistan was one of the most important stops on the Silk Road. You can catch trains or buses between cities for less than $20, meaning you can head to the historical cities of Bukhara and Samarkand to explore the mosques and mausoleums. Although accommodation is basic, it is far from uncomfortable, and you can find a good hotel with all amenities for $30 to $50 per night. Uzbekistan has thousands of years of history, which can be discovered easily and cheaply. The only expense you may find is your flights into the country. Thailand. Beaches, temples, markets, and more is what Thailand is famous for. It rivals Bali as an original backpacker haunt, and the prices haven't changed much over the last few decades, despite the addition of luxury hotels. If you want to do Thailand on a budget, you easily can, with plenty of modern hostels to choose from. Flights to Bangkok and even domestic flights are very affordable too. All over Thailand, you'll find classic street food markets and roadside restaurants serving satay pad thai and other local cuisines for just a few dollars. Many people face expenses when joining tours, particularly heading to Thailand's islands such as Koh Samui or the Phi Phi Islands. However, if you make your way there yourself and catch a local boat rather than a tour, you'll save lots of money. Many temples and historic sites are free to enter, while lazing on the beautiful beaches, snorkeling, or cycling through the jungle are totally free. Thailand's wealth of natural beauty and cheap living costs mean many people spend months or even choose to live here due to its affordability and diverse range of things to see and do. Conclusion. So there you have it, a top 10 list of the most affordable countries to travel to. Whether you're a nature lover, history buff, or beach bum, there is something out there to fit every budget. If you enjoyed this video or got something out of it, like and subscribe. We'll see you in the next adventure.